And ground school, what is happening, everybody? Jason Shappert here. Welcome into Inflight Coffee. I honestly, I don't know the episode or the season we're on anymore, but I think we're just hanging out, sitting outside today. We'll talk more about that here in just a bit. So great to see so many of you piling in on here. Thankful y'all are taking time out of it's a beautiful Saturday here. I don't know how it is where you all are at. We'll get to that here in just a bit. Magda's pulling up the comments for me, then I'll be able to say hi to a few of you on here. We're diving today into this idea of VFR, IFR radio communications and how we can improve our radio communications a little bit, right? That's something we're always striving towards because I know we've all made mistakes before. And I don't care if you're VFR only, you're working on your instrument. I don't care if you're a CFI. There are areas. I goofed up on the radios a few months ago and I thought, man, what a rookie mistake I made. Like, that happens. And we're going to talk through that. You know, we teach a lot through stories, and that's how we're really going to learn and grow here today. So Magda's getting the comments pulled up here. I've got those now. Thank you, Magda. I want to peek at a few of these. Let's see. There's Pete. Pete, I'm using your mug today. Pete was very, very kind to send me a Talk to Me Goose mug. So thank you for that. Pete, will we see you at Sun and Fun or just Oshkosh this year? He also sent Magda a mug too, so which I also drink out of. Let's see. Hey, real quick, where are you watching from and how is the weather using only emojis? Put it in the chat for me. Where are you watching from and how is the weather using only emojis? If I'm watching Florida and it is a frigid like 76 degrees today, thus the long sleeve shirt. It's a little chilly, but I said, let's sit outside. I will brave these chilly temperatures for the M0A Nation. So here we are in a frigid 76. Let's see. Katie, great to see you in Fargo, North Dakota. It's probably 77 in Fargo, North Dakota right now too, if I had to guess. Ed Kessler in Pompano, of course. Great to see you. Andrew Seswick. Hey, Micah, long time no see. Lisa, when I'm looking down, by the way, I'm looking at the comments coming in here. Mr. Verselli, great to see you on here as well. Gary, we'll talk about the new ACS for CFI. The M0A team's been feverishly looking at that. Over on Facebook, hey Michelle, hey Hunter. Hunter, is it really snowing in Pittsburgh? Is that true? It's April. Like, the Easter bunny already came. Like, I feel like snow should just stop after the bunny comes. It just seems like it should. So, Zach in Baltimore. Zach, do you know I was born in Reisterstown? Fun fact of the day. Dwayne, good to see you. Checking in from West Atlanta, sunny but cold. In Atlanta, it's cold? I guess it's 77 here in Florida, so it's cold. I'm just being funny with you guys, by the way. Let's see. Aviate Maddie in Vegas, great to see you. Paul in Wiltshire, United Kingdom. Cheerio. Jason in Perth, Australia. I mean, great name. And in Australia. Never been, but would love to visit. So let's set that up. Daniel and Addison, great to see you on here as well. Bill Campbell, as always. I haven't seen you in a long time, Bill Campbell. Where have you been? Hope to see you sometime soon here. Mary Martin's watching. How's the puppy? That's the real question, Mary Martin. All right, in Memphis, a bunch in Savannah. Thank you. Awesome. So great to see so many of you. So I cheated. I already pre-made my coffee. I apologize. Normally I make the coffee live, but I wanted to sit outside today. Didn't feel like going in the studio, so I was hanging out at the house, sitting outside. So you will hear birds, you will hear airplanes, and that's about it. So welcome to the Shappert house. We're thankful you're here. Question for you all. Actually, before I ask that question, I need to ask a different question. Show of hands, who am I going to see at Sun and Fun next week? We're going to be in Hangar D, Hangar Delta. 23 Mike Zulu is already there in between Charlie and Delta hangars. I tied her down real good for that cold front that went through, but she's in between Charlie and Delta hangars, and we're right inside that Delta hangar by 23 Mike Zulu. Same spot we've been for like 15 years. Looking forward to seeing so many of you at Sun and Fun as well. Two cool things. We're making an amazing announcement at Sun and Fun as well. The M0A team has just been like unstoppable is the word to use in what they have achieved. This is not something I did. This is not something Magda did. This is the entire MZRA team. We're very, very blessed. Just scratches the surface of where we're at with this announcement we're making at Sun and Fun. So looking forward to that. Also at Sun and Fun, I'm giving away 2 simulator sessions with Jason. One on Saturday, one on Sunday. So I'll be posting more details, but you can always just come by our booth to register. We'll have a little QR code. You've got to be there on Saturday or on Sunday. And we're going to pick a winner. Like, bring your logbook. Like, if you're that confident you're going to win, bring your logbook, because this is all loggable time as well. So if you believe you're a winner, I mean, the first step is believing in you. Bring the logbook so we can bring it to fruition. Okay, because I don't want you shipping your logbook to me and me shipping it back. I don't trust the Postal Service that much. So bring your logbook with you, because you might just be one of the 2 winners. Anyways, great to see you on here. We talked about weather. You shared me the weather using only emojis. Some of you have snow, which I find in New Hampshire. Jonathan Ross has snow in New Hampshire. It just seems crazy. 8 degrees Celsius in Los Angeles also seems unnecessary. If it gets below standard, 15 degrees C, I just stay inside. It's too chilly. Anyways, some first-time attendees. Joe Douglas, great to have you on here as well. Joe, it's pretty casual. We hang out at the Shepard House. We drink coffee. We talk about airplanes. Today, VFR, IFR, radio communications. So let's dive into that topic. I want to ask a question. By typing in me in the chat, or a hand wave emoji, or however you want to get my attention, will you answer this honestly for me? Who's ever said something dumb on the radio? Just raise your hand, type in me. Who has ever said something dumb on the radio? To a tower, to approach, on an uncontrolled CTAF frequency, I don't care. Who has ever said something dumb? And I can't see the attendance numbers right now, but if you've done any amount of flying, there better be a lot of me's and a lot of hand wave emojis, because most of us have done something dumb. No. Oh, and by the way, if you're worried about audio, the good audio is over on YouTube. I apologize. I keep saying I'll buy that cable, Magda, to do Facebook, so I apologize. If you want better audio, if you're like an audio nut, the audio will be a little better on YouTube. Speaking of radio communications, who's ever said something dumb on the radio? I'm not going to get into all my stories. If you're at Women in Aviation last month or a few weeks ago, you heard my story of my runway incursion that I caused because I did something dumb and didn't listen to the controller and everything else. Hunter, I remember your story about giving the whole speech about intentions to the airport on the wrong frequency. I've done that, actually. I have. Well, I'll share 2 stories. I remember, so when I first learned to fly, I flew in a single NavCom aircraft. So it was one frequency. That was the only option. You hit transmit and that was done. When I switched over to my instrument, I was in an aircraft that had an intercom where I could switch between COM 1 and COM 2. And I'm sorry for the birds. They're just having a good time because it's a beautiful day. I switched over to an airplane that had a COM 1 and a COM 2. And I didn't totally understand how all the buttonology worked and everything else. And I remember I was listening on 1, which is the airport I was at, but I was transmitting on 2, which was the tower of the airport I just left. I can't make this up. I did like 9 touch and goes at the Hurlong Airport in Jacksonville, Florida, making every radio call, crosswind, downwind, base, final, around and around and around, while transmitting on Craig Tower. I can't make it up. When I got back to Craig Tower, I can't remember the airplane I was in, but they said, hey, Cessna 1234, we have a phone number for you. I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? I genuinely had no idea what I did wrong. And they politely told me what I did wrong when I called them. They're very friendly about it, but apparently I was really clogging up some frequencies with my 8 touch and goes at the Hurlong Airport. Let me ask another question then. Who has ever misunderstood a controller? Type in me in the chat. A controller asked something and you're like, well, yeah, kinda. Who's ever misunderstood a controller? I remember I had a student, at the time when I was learning to fly and then training people in the Ocala area, Ocala did not have a tower. So we had to go to Gainesville to get our 3 takeoffs and landings, and that was it. Like, all our cross countries, usually you were too low to get VFR flight following. So we never got VFR flight following, and if we did, the cross countries were, Jack's approach on 118.6 covered such a large area that when we did our long cross country, my students never actually got handed off. They always stayed at 118.6 until it was time to go to the CTAF, the Unicom, or the tower frequency. So I remember one of my students just became a private pilot, bought his own airplane, we trained him up in it, everything was good. He had a business meeting in Dothan, Alabama. And he said, hey, I'm gonna get flight following the whole way. And this is like before FlightAware where I could track him easy and stuff. I said, call me when you land. So he goes and he takes off and everything's good. Ocala is uncontrolled at the time. He tunes up 118.6, calls Jack's approach, VFR flight following, life is good. He's flying. Now remember, he had never been handed off, we never flew far enough away out of the Jack's sector to be handed off to another frequency. So instead, he's flying along and all of a sudden Jack's approach says, you know, contact Atlanta on 1234. And he goes, okay. He didn't know what the controller meant. So he stayed on 118.6 from Ocala, north central Florida, all the way to Dothan, Alabama, kind of southern central Alabama. And if you can picture a line between those, there's military operations areas, there's restricted airspace, there's everything that's happening in the Destin, Pensacola area. There's a lot of airspace going on over there. And he flew right on through it. And eventually he gets to Dothan, and Dothan has a tower, and he calls him up and says, hey, this is Skylane 1234, 10 miles to the south, inbound for landing. And they said exactly this. Oh, Skylane 1234, we are so happy you called. We've been waiting for you. He goes, how? Okay, I didn't know you were waiting for me. Hey, we have this number we'd like you to call when you land. And they explained the situation to him of all the airspace he had violated. And he explained to them, I had never been handed off before. And if you actually look at even the private pilot ACS, like, it's not a requirement to even get flight following. I did, and maybe someone else can relate to this, if you flew in the olden days like I did. I did my entire private pilot certificate never receiving VFR flight following. We did our cross countries just with eyes outside. Honestly, the airplane we flew, we did the cross country at 3,500 feet. We were in what still is a remote part of the state, and there wasn't a lot of radar coverage. This is 20 years ago. VFR flight following wasn't an option unless we got higher, and in this little 100 horsepower aircraft in August in Florida, you didn't climb up that high. So we did the entire private pilot without VFR flight following. Some of you think that's foreign, right? Some of you go, Jason, like I fly out of John Wayne, I fly out of Boston, I fly out of Peachtree. Like some of you, it's just natural to always be talking on the radios. And some of you are saying, yeah, I just flew out of a pilot-controlled airport. That's scary to talk to a controller. There's really those two schools of thought. And that's what we're going to really work to focus on here. You see, the quality of everything we do is in the quality of our conversations. Let me say that again, because this relates to your business relationships, your personal relationships, your flying, whatever that may be. The quality, your ability to communicate well directly reflects the quality of your conversations, thus the quality of the answers, and your ability to understand, for that matter. Now, I know aviation has its own lingo and its own verbiage and everything else. Like, I get that. I totally get that. But we have to adapt. A good pilot's always learning and continue to grow. Think about this. I want to relate this to something we've all done in our personal lives. Who has ever had to have that big meeting with the boss, or maybe you're in an argument with your spouse or significant other or whatever, and you lay in bed at night thinking about all the things you're going to say, all the things that they're going to say back to you, and you're like running through all of these scenarios in your head. I know I'm not the only person who does this, not did this, does this, where you sit back and you think, okay, when they say this, I'm going to say this. And if they go this route, guess what? I'm going to go this route. Like, We do this in our personal lives, for better or worse sometimes, depending on how your mind is working. Why are we not doing this in our aviation life? Meaning, you should never call up a controller and be surprised by what they say. Oh, I don't want to say never, because situations do arise. But most of the time when you call up a controller, you should know what the 3 or 4 options that they are going to come back with. Just like you rehearsed that argument you wanted to have with your spouse, and then they tell you that, and you've got that to fire off, or they tell you something you didn't expect, and you go, whoa. It's exactly what happens. Your spouse says something you didn't expect. Your boss says something for better or worse you didn't expect. You're at a loss for words because I never practiced that scenario. Aviation's the same way. We need to practice through these different scenarios. You know, I know if I cold call a ground controller, Naples ground, Skyhawk 23 Mike Zulu, and I zip it, that's a cold call, I know there's only a few options that is going to happen. They're going to acknowledge me, is option number 1. Skyhawk 23 Mike Zulu, this is Naples ground, go ahead. Option 2 could be 23 Mike Zulu, stand by. Option 3 could be aircraft calling, stand by. Right, those are probably the 3 primary options that they're going to give you there. Now, this is so important to rehearse and know what they're going to say, especially, do I have anybody watching that maybe English is a second language to you? Anybody want to share? Magda's over there waving her hands. If English is a second language to you, add aviation English to the equation, right? How challenging is that? We speak in a way that is not always grammatically correct. By the way, look at all the comments where English is not a second language. It is challenging, and then you add accents to the equation. Accents on the part of a controller. Accents on a part of us as well in our understanding. You know, Florida is such a melting pot. I can fly over to Florida and hear a Hispanic accent, and then there's this amazing controller up in Tampa that has this really thick English accent, and then I can go up to Jacksonville and get some Southern Georgia kind of accent, all on my same cross country. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm sure you fly in other places that's the exact same thing with that. So that plays a role in it. And this is why we need to kind of know what to expect. What could they possibly say to me?
Maddie took 17 English classes to get rid of her accent.
Wow. So Aviate Maddie. Oh, I see it in there. I took 17 English classes to get rid of my Swedish accent. Well, you know, every time I go to IKEA, I do celebrate Swedish culture. Although I've heard that those meatballs are not authentic Swedish meatballs, but I do support IKEA. I don't support building the IKEA furniture, but I support IKEA and the meatballs. Story for another day. Anyways, I'm going to move my coffee over here because I'm very likely to whack it, and that could be a problema live. But don't let me forget about it. So, we have a lot of things can be stacked against us. How many people are natural English speakers like myself and are still confused by ATC sometimes? You're like, I feel like I know another language. I speak Metar, TAF, and the phonetic alphabet. It's tricky. One of our team members, Matt, many of you have met Matt at trade shows, and he's been in a few videos. Matt was law enforcement prior to becoming a pilot and thus working for M0A. I don't know if it's every law enforcement agency, but his law enforcement agency used a different ABC phonetic alphabet than we use in aviation. So he was always getting tripped up wanting to call, you know, B, boy, or Bill, or I don't know what they called it, instead of Bravo. So that was a tricky thing, and he's a native English speaker. So that can provide some difficulties sometimes with that. So why are we not doing, back to our idea of rehearsing these conversations, why are we not doing that with ATC? Why are we not thinking all the time? And this is how I want you to start. I know many of you, I saw a few comments. People are driving to the airport right now to go fly. I want you, it's a beautiful day for it, for most of you. Your next flight, I want you thinking, what is the controller going to say next to me? What is the next likely thing? In fact, I teach this so often. I teach this idea of where am I in the ecosystem. And I teach this mostly in the pilot-controlled, uncontrolled environment, but this applies in the controlled IFR, VFR flight following environment as well. I am always trying to look into the future a little bit. Here's what I mean. If I am on VFR flight following, or an IFR flight plan for that matter, and I can identify an aircraft that is of similar type, it doesn't have to be similar type, but similar altitude, let's say, ahead of me, heading a similar direction, I'm going to key in and I'm going to be listening for them as well. Now, we can do that very easily with ADS-B now. You can just scroll around your iPad and find people ahead of you and listen for them on the frequency. But I'm always listening to other aircraft on frequency to see, okay, what are they doing exactly? Because if there's an aircraft 20 miles ahead of me and all of a sudden they ask for 10 degrees left for a buildup, and I'm flying around going, I don't know where this magic buildup is because it's beautiful where I'm at, but I know this guy is only 1,000 feet above me or 2,000 feet above me, and they're asking for a deviation, and they're about 20 miles ahead of me. I'm gonna start looking around and thinking about what my options are. Or thinking even further ahead, that same airplane gets the radio call, Skylane 1234, contact Jack's approach 118.6. What do you think my next frequency is gonna be? I'm going to my standby and I'm queuing up 118.6, thinking ahead and anticipating that's what's next for me. You know, when we fall behind the airplane, it is inherently difficult to catch back up. So whatever we can do to stay ahead of that airplane, thinking ahead of that airplane, the little frequency changes, whatever that may be, that goes a very long way. So you're constantly thinking, where are you in the ecosystem? Where was I flying just the other day? Maybe I was coming back into Naples, I can't remember. No, I was going to Lakeland actually, I apologize. And there's gonna be a video on it coming up in a few weeks. Going into Lakeland to drop off 23 Mike Zulu in between Hangar C and D at Sun and Fun, come see us. I'll be in Hangar D. And Lakeland Tower told me to enter a left downwind for, I don't know, I think it was runway 10. So they tell me to enter left downwind for or whatever runway they have over there, 10-28. They told me to enter left downwind for 10. So I'm 10 miles out, I start queuing up for that. All of a sudden, I hear them clear somebody to take off on 28. I thought, wait a second, they cleared me to land, or they cleared me for enter a left downwind for 10, they just cleared someone to take off 28. Either they're about to switch runways in my favor for 10, or they're gonna switch me off 10 and put me on 28, or vice versa, I can't remember how it happened. Sure enough, I hear another plane call up, reporting 2 miles north of the airport, and they say, enter a right base for 28. I go, I know he told me 10. He was either number one, mistaken, but I don't think so, because the ATIS even said 10, and now 2 aircraft have gone off 28. So sure enough, I call up, I'm 5 miles out, he says, hey, we're switching plans, enter a right downwind for 28 now. And I was ready for it. I wasn't surprised because I was thinking ahead. I heard these other aircraft doing operations on the opposite runway or opposite end. I thought either they're switching in my favor or they're about to switch against me. I'm ready for both. I'm gonna continue as he asked me to, but I'm ready to make the switch, and I'm not gonna be surprised when he goes, land 28 now, and go, well, where's 28? It's just the other side of the pavement, right? Don't overthink it. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's ever come up to a runway, you're 5 miles north of it, and you go, okay, is that N9 or is that N9, right? I'm sure I'm the only person who's ever done that before, been confused as to which, I see the pavement, which end is 9 again, or which end is 27 again. I'm sure that's just me that's had that problem before. No one's ever been as confused as I was. So I'm constantly thinking about what is next, what could they ask me for, what are other aircraft. You have to remember, if you are on frequency with these aircraft, you are all sharing a similar environment. These sectors aren't as big as they used to be, at the low altitudes at least anymore. They're only covering some as large as 80 miles, some as small as 30 or 40 miles. So you need to be aware that if you're hearing other aircraft on your frequency, unless they're high up and they're controlling highs and lows on the same frequency, that they're dealing with similar issues that you have as well. So this is why I want you to start to play a game. And it goes back to really what the premise of this in-flight coffee is about today. I want you to play a game. Be the air traffic controller. Today, if you're not flying, if you're going flying, think ahead, do everything we just talked about. But if you are not flying today, we spend so much time practicing what we're going to say. Ocala Tower, Sky 23 Mike Zulu is 10 miles to the south, inbound for landing with information Juliet. Right? We spend so much time practicing what we're going to say. That part's not a problem. The radio call I just gave you is not a problem. Ocala Tower, 23 Mike Zulu, 10 miles to the south, inbound for landing with Juliet. That's not a problem. You've rehearsed that radio call a million times. That's the easy radio call. Here's the tough radio call that comes back when Tower says, 23 Mike Zulu, enter a 2-mile left downwind runway 36, winds are 360 at 11, gust to 22. I got 3 others in the pattern, report 2 miles. And you go, do I need to read all that back? That's where it gets tricky. What you say is not the hard part. It's the read back that's tough. Is anybody with me? By the way, with that as an example, what would you read back? Enter a left downwind for 36, report 2 miles, 23 Mike Zulu. Another key point, I've been preaching this for years, so most of you have heard this. Some of this will be a good reminder. Remember on the read back, you will never forget who you are. You will forget what they just told you. Let me say that again. For some of you who've been watching for years, like Ed Kessler and others, and SEMA, you've heard this a million times, so just call it a good refresher. On a read back, you will never forget who you are, 23 Mike Zulu. You will forget what they just told you. So a common example of that is Tower says, 23 Mike Zulu, you're 5 miles from the final approach fix, turn left hand 360, maintain 3,000 until established, cleared, ILS 36 into Ocala. And most student pilots start the radio call off this way. 23 Mike Zulu, left, what'd they say again? And you give that instructor the, help me out. Anybody ever look at their instructor and go, like, back me up, buddy? This is what I'm paying you for? That happens sometimes, right? You'll never forget that you're 23 Mike Zulu. It's plastered right in front of you. It's literally pasted right in front of you. You will forget left 360, 3,000 until established, cleared, ILS runway 36. So when you get that radio call, left 360, 3,000 until established, cleared, ILS 36, 23 Mike Zulu. On a readback, you end with who you are because you'll never forget who you are. You will forget the slew of information they just told you. And on that note, what's essential to read back? I know Tower is being so helpful when they tell you, 23 Mike Zulu, enter a 2-mile left base, runway 36, winds currently 270, 11, gust 22. There's been some bird activity in the air. They're giving you the whole novella about Ocala. And you're like, I just want to land. Like, I told you I had, did I not tell you I had Juliet? Has anybody ever been there? Like, you just gave me the whole ATIS, sir, and I just told you I had information, Mike. Thank you, but I told you I had Mike. Am I the only one that gets a little sassy sometimes? Like, I don't need the whole, if I need a wind check, don't call me, I'll call you. Maybe I'm being weird. But I feel like that tricks a lot of student pilots and certificated pilots alike when they want to give the whole report and I just listened to the ATIS and now I don't even know what to read back. Well, you got to read back the essentials. 2-mile left base for 36, 23 Mike Zulu. Like that's the stuff that you need to understand, right, and read back. So you need to start to practice like you're the controller. Let's work through that here together. Now again, I can't hear you, I can't see you, all I see is your chat and everything else down here. So what did Gene said? Put my mic a little lower? Yeah. What do you mean? Oh, that better? Sorry. Jim said, yeah, while doing a whole 2-hour video of me making hand gestures and watch it go viral. Yep. I talk with my hands too, and fly with my hands for some reason. Anyways, let's play a game. Again, I can't hear you, I can't see you. So if you want to play, that's great.
Joe asked
But
on YouTube.
yeah, but let me finish this thought real quick here. I saw it, and then we'll come back to that. Let's play a game real quick. You be the controller. You be the controller, okay? What would you say to me? Let's start on the ground. You are Naples ground. I call you up. Naples ground, Skyhawk, 2-3 Mike Zulu. What would you say to me? You be the controller. You probably, hopefully in your head said, 2-3 Mike Zulu, this is Naples ground, go ahead. Naples ground, 2-3 Mike Zulus at the FBO, information Bravo, VFR North. What would you say to me? Make up some taxi instructions, I don't care. You probably said 2-3 Mike Zulu, turn left on Alpha, runway 23, left on Alpha, right on Bravo, hold short 14. I don't know what you say, but you think this ahead. And speaking of that, for you as the pilot on the ground, I need you even thinking ahead, what's my taxi possibilities? What could my taxi actually look like as well? If I know I'm at the FBO, I've already listened to the ATIS, ASOS, AWOS, I know they're using runway 23, there's really only 1 or 2 ways to get to runway 23. Now, they could change that up on me. I've looked at the NOTAMs, I know there's closures, but I'm already thinking ahead. Now, I don't want to have what's called a confirmation bias or even a recency bias. What does that, what do either of those things mean? Meaning, an expectation bias is another one. I'm expecting this, and they may tell me something different, but I just hear what I thought. You need to pre-plan it out, but you need to be open and willing to change. You may believe you know how to get to 2-3. This happens a lot at your local airport. You go to your local airport and you have a recency bias of this is how I've always taxied this way, or I recently taxied this way, or this is how they brought me out yesterday, and they may bring you out a different way the next day. Don't fall into this bias that you may have with all of this. So as an exercise, I want you to pretend to be the controller. If I call you up, you're now, you're Naples Tower now, and I'm inbound to land. The winds are favoring 2-3 today. Naples Tower, Skyhawk, 2-3 Mike Zulu. I zip it, you come back what? 2-3 Mike Zulu, Naples Tower, go ahead. 2-3 Mike Zulus, 10 miles to the south, information Juliet, inbound for landing. What would you say? 2-3 Mike Zulu, enter a left downwind, runway 23, report the downwind. Start to think ahead, and if you think like a controller, you're going to help yourself out a ton in continuing to think ahead. Now back to Joe's question. He has a great question about what if I identify myself as a student pilot? Naples ground, 2-3 Mike Zulu, student pilot. You certainly can do that. Is the controller going to treat you any differently? No, right? They're not going to baby you. They're not going to treat you any differently. Are they going to maybe speak slower for you? Are they going to maybe be more forgiving for you? Yes, possibly, but that's on a controller by controller basis. So if you stay student pilot, they may give you a little more spacing. They may give you a little more leeway. They may give you a little more forgiveness. They may speak a little slower, but these are all maybes. They're not guarantees, right? Certainly, I had, when I soloed my students at Howard Field, I actually would call the tower and say, hey, this is Jason Schappert. I'm soloing a student in this airplane in about 5 minutes. Just want to let you know. And they say, oh, I really appreciate that. I would actually call the tower and tell them there's a solo happening. And it actually worked out really well sometimes because I could call, this is up in Jacksonville, I could call Craig Tower and say, hey, I'm going to have a student, we're about to fire up in about 10 minutes, and he's going to solo. And they'd say, hey, that's fine. However, I've got 5 inbound IFR flights right now. Can you wait 20 minutes instead? And let me get these guys in here first. I appreciate that wisdom because they know the traffic flow that's coming, at least in an IFR environment, and said, hey, tap the brakes just 1 second. I want your student to have a great experience. I don't want them to be extending their downwind all 3 landings because I got 5 jets coming in IFR. So instructors, pay attention to that. Maybe it's a good idea to call the tower. Nowadays, you can just hop on FlightAware and see it all anyways, but this is back in the olden days where that wasn't as much of a luxury with that one. So really to summarize, and then I want to kind of go to Q&A here. You have to always be thinking ahead, team. You have to always be thinking ahead. What could I be asked? What are others on frequency doing as well? This is true at pilot-controlled, uncontrolled airports. This is true in towered frequencies, controlled frequencies, flight following, IFR, en route, it doesn't matter. It's not just about you. It's not just about Jason. It's about how do you fit in the entire ecosystem with everybody else. Because the problems other aircraft are having with weather and deviations and runway changes, you're going to deal with as well. And this gives you a 15-minute head start to think through the scenario. Do you follow me with that? So, with that being said, let's move to Q&A time. Any questions are fair game. By the way, did anybody learn anything here today? Let me know in the chat if you learned just one little nugget of wisdom there as well. Questions, comments, concerns, by the way, again, I'll be at Sun and Fun, Hangar D. 2 Mike Zulu is going to be between Hangar C and D. There's an opportunity to win 2 simulators in a simulator with me that you can log, so bring your logbooks. There's an opportunity for 2 lucky winners on Saturday and Sunday if you'll be there at Sun and Fun to win those. And also, I believe on Thursday, we're making our big announcement. So very, very thankful for all the work the MSRA team has done to allow that announcement to come to life. Let's move to questions. By the way, if you are in need, this is my one and only sales pitch. Don't forget about us for your written test, for your check ride prep, for being that safe real-world pilot. M0atrial.com. Take a free, no strings attached, 2-week trial of our online ground school. See why the best keeps getting better. Private, instrument, commercial, FOI, CFI. You think the free videos on YouTube are great? Wait until you see the videos inside the online ground school. One membership gets you access to all courses. All right, M0atrial.com. Let's look at some questions. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Daniel, for the kind words.
Somebody asked on YouTube.
Yes.
Polarized or non-polarized?
Someone asked about sunglasses, polarized or non-polarized sunglasses. The answer may surprise you. Stay tuned next week. That sounded good, didn't it? I could be on TV. Non-polarized. You will have a very difficult time seeing your avionics. In fact, I have polarized glasses. I do not fly with them. I was just driving the other day, and I put them on, and I put the car in reverse, and I went and said, did the backup camera die? And I took off, and I moved my head, and I could see it. I said, oh, it's my polarized glasses. Because remember how polarized lenses work. They have vertical, right, Magda? They're vertical. They have vertical, I don't know what they are, but vertical filters. So especially CFIs like Hunter and others, if you're sitting in the right seat, it's really hard to see the PFD with polarized glasses. So, I mean, for the boat, for whatever else, polarized is great. I wouldn't know because Magda doesn't let me buy a boat, but one day I will. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But that is the situation. Non-polarized. Okay. I want to just bring this a little closer so I can see. My buddy Jer, good to see you. Well, I see you at Sun and Fun, champion glider pilot and instructor from the frigid state of Colorado. All right. Todd, great to see you. A bunch of non-polarized people. Robin says hi, Magda. Dr. Bill said, where are your 2 watches? I let you guys down today. I'm sorry. I went casual. I went casual today. Marty Miller, we will not only see you Wednesday, I'll have my official M0A pen. I use these. All 1,000 of them that you sent. I've used all 1,000 of them. It's amazing. Thank you for that, sir. Let's see. I'll ask, might not be the right place to ask. It's always the right place to ask. I'm writing a book. Can I mention M0A by name? It depends. What are you saying? If it's good, I mean, we'll talk about it. But yeah, send it to the team just for us to confirm. I'm 99% sure it's okay. But reach out to the support team, support@m0a.com, and I'm sure it's fine because I've known you for many years now. But let's just confirm it, and maybe we can expound on it even. So that's good. Bobby King has the same cup. Talk to me, Goose. If I was flying, Goose would still be alive. That's a t-shirt. I didn't make that up. All right. Aviate Maddie, who took 17 English lessons to lose her Swedish. You know, I told Magda if she ever loses her accent, she's in trouble. So no English lessons there. All right. I have my private pilot check ride at the end of this month. Can you quickly give me advice on diversions and what to keep in mind? Oh, I can give advice on diversions. You ready? Okay. Who knows where I'm going with this one? Some of you, Pete's going, Marty Miller's going, I know exactly how Jason's going to answer this question. Marty Miller could probably answer this question for me. All right. Who here, watching this live, like Robin, like Marty Miller, like so many, Dr. Bill, created a wind card for their check ride? Who knows what I'm talking about when I say a wind card? Maddie. There is a video, and if someone's willing to dig it up, Maddie's over on YouTube. If somebody could dig it up, I want to say it's called like my #1 check ride tip, or just search. I've done it a few times. There's probably really old videos where I have a bad comb over and look like a teenager. It doesn't matter. Go make a wind card. Here's what a wind card essentially looks like. What a wind card looks like is you draw a circle, and I'll show you all this in a second here. I draw a circle, north, south, east, west. All right, and you can do some intermediate headings in there as well. And what you do, Maddie, is you sit down and you say, okay, I'm on the ground, morning of the check ride. Bust out the E6B and calculate your ground speed on each of these headings, on north, on northeast, on east, on southeast, on south. Calculate roughly your ground speed that day on each of these headings. Because what are the questions you have to answer on a diversion? Which direction is it? How long is it going to take me to get there? And do I have enough fuel to get there? Can you answer those 3 questions? Where is it? How long will it take me? Do I have enough fuel? You answer those 3 questions, you are like 90% of the way of passing your diversion. You got to land on the proper runway, make a nice landing, not cut anybody off, et cetera, et cetera. But if you make a wind card and they say, divert me, I'm trying to think of Las Vegas airports. I don't really know a bunch. Divert me to the North Las Vegas airport. You're going to say, okay. I don't know the exact heading yet, but I know it's generally north. Get heading that right direction. Now that I'm heading the right direction, I can figure out, I know how fast I'm going. I can now figure out distance, I can figure out how long it's going to take me, and then get more precise on my heading. But I know it's roughly this way. A wind card, it sounds so simple and so basic, but so many people here have done a wind card, and it's a game changer. So go find that. Maybe someone can post the video. That's good. All right.
There are great animations in the ground school.
Yeah, and there's great animations in the ground school as well. All right, Hunter, our CFI in Pittsburgh. What is the best way to teach situational awareness at an airport? My one student really struggles with entering the pattern and where he is relative to the airport. Sounds like time for another ground lesson. All right, you ready for a really silly idea? It's going to look silly, but it's going to work. Hold on, I need a little more caffeine to tell you. Anybody else? What's the maximum coffee you can drink in a day? Is it 4 cups? This is only 1, so I got more to go. Hunter, this is going to sound like a really silly idea. This works for radio communications. This also works for situational awareness. You ready? Hunter, I need you to channel your inner 9-year-old again and go to Target. Well, no, don't go to Target because I can't support Target anymore because they fired me. Story for another day. When I was 16. Still traumatized by it. That was the only job I ever had. Go to Walmart then, the competitor. Buy sidewalk chalk. And I want you to go out to the parking lot or to the non-movement area of the ramp, whatever it is. And I want you to draw, not life-size, that'd be a lot of chalk. I want you to draw the runway. I'm talking like a 20-foot version of it. Go draw 3618 and draw it in the proper orientation. And then I want you to walk around that ramp and say, okay, where am I in relation to 36? Oh, I'm northwest. Okay, how would you enter the pattern here? Let's walk, and Hunter, I didn't make this up. I stole this from the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds. I remember when I was a 16-year-old kid, well, probably younger than that, the first time I went to Sun and Fun, and I could see the Blue Angels at a distance, and they were all next to each other, walking around the ramp like robots. I said, what are they doing? And the person next to me said, they're practicing. I said, what do you mean they're practicing? He said, this is their entire air show. They walk it, then they go fly it. I said, I'm going to file that one away for when I become an instructor. Why don't you walk them around your fictitious sidewalk chalk airport? Make the radio calls the same way. You know, Williston Traffic's had 23 Mike Zulus 10 miles to the north on a 45 to left downwind, runway 36, Williston, whatever it is. Pilot-controlled tower, you be the tower. And walk next to them. Hunter, you walk on their right side, shoulder to shoulder, and say, walk me through the pattern. Get me in the pattern. Okay, now we're over here. How are we going to enter the pattern? Make the radio calls. Do the hand gestures. Bring the power back. Touch the flaps in your mind. It sounds a little ridiculous, and you're going to look a little bit silly. But I bet another instructor is going to do it one day, and you're going to go, taught you something, right? I'm telling you, you'll look a little ridiculous, but go buy some sidewalk chalk. It will help you a ton. All right. All right. On YouTube, Maggie says, yes. Nick said it. Any tips for instrument ground school? It's long. I find it hard to stay motivated. Well, Nick, you've got to find those little wins. Is the written test done yet? If not, can we get that to be a little win? You know how you get the written test done? You get it scheduled. What gets scheduled gets done. Go, I'm making up a number. You need to do what's right for you. Could you go schedule it 30 days from right now? Literally, go on PSI's website. You already have an FTN number. Go schedule it. You will find a way to study and get done, and then you'll feel so good when that written test is done. Have you done your long IFR cross country yet? Why don't you get it scheduled and start planning it? It's a fun flight to make. Have you shown yourself, Nick, that flying is fun? Because so often we get stuck in this loop, this trap of training. This is why I recommend, I love people that finish their private and go right into instrument. I love that attitude. But at the same time, I think it's smart to take a little break in between, not a long one. And maybe you can dive right into instrument, but book some fun flights, like take your friends flying, take your family flying. Show yourself that flying is fun, or you will burn out. It's no different than going to the gym. Going to the gym hurts, and you don't see results right away, right? Being on a low-calorie diet hurts, and you don't see results right away. Can you find little wins and little ways to reward yourself? Flying's the same kind of thing. Okay. Michelle said, I'm a new member, last 30 days. I'm almost on the private ground school. I'm a gold member. It shows I have only 2% when I complete every lesson. I'm going to grab a screenshot of this, and I will have the team reach out to you, my friend, to see what exactly the issue could be. But give us till Monday, because the team's not working this weekend. I will personally see to it, though, as well. Michael J. McMurray, as always, great to see you. Many of you have heard the soothing voice of Michael J. McMurray if you listen to Aviation Mastery, the audiobook. That is the Michael J. McMurray. Okay, next question. Ryan, any tips for circle to landing approaches? Pattern feels tight and difficult to be stable and in the protected area when your distance reference point is the opposite threshold. There's nothing I like about circling approaches. Wait till you do one in real life. I've done one, maybe two in real life, where the cloud deck is right above you. You feel like you're on top of the airport doing a helicopter-style approach, and you're at 700 feet, AGL, and then you got to do basically like a power-off 180, it feels like. There is nothing exciting about circling approaches. Honestly, Magda and I were flying the other day. You saw the video, actually, maybe. It was when we went to Jekyll Island, so it wasn't the other day, it was a while ago. We went to Jekyll Island, and I was left with the option of, do I shoot? I had a really strong wind. I can't remember, let's say it's 1836 there. There was, I had the option to either shoot the precision GPS approach with like a 14 knot tailwind into 1/8, or shoot a VOR alpha. Remember, any alpha approach just dumps you at the airport and then says good luck to you. And you had to circle. And thankfully, I didn't have to do either. But oddly enough, I was leaning towards, Ryan, shooting the GPS approach with like a 14 knot tailwind in a Cirrus versus the VOR alpha approach. Simply because a few things, I hadn't shot a VOR alpha approach in a long time, let alone a VOR approach. I shoot GPS approaches all day. And I didn't feel like circling. And they were actual conditions. And I wanted to get a little bit lower than I would have with the VOR alpha. We ended up getting there. The weather had improved drastically compared to what the forecast said. We actually arrived VFR, and life was good. But I don't shy away from them. Like we have to train, we have to do them. But if I'm given an opportunity, I will take something other than the circle. Does that make sense? It's also very hard to practice circle approaches because most controllers don't want opposite direction traffic, which makes it challenging sometimes. Okay. Mark, congratulations. Passed my commercial written thanks to M0A. Well, congrats to you, my friend. We just played a small part in that. Richard said, hi, Jason. Do you have recommendations to be proficient at radio calls for taxiing at large airports with air traffic control? It goes back to kind of what we spoke about, if you heard earlier. Pretend you're the controller. I'm assuming you might be going out of a Charlie, maybe even a Bravo. Don't forget you're going to have clearance delivery. You know, another thing I do, Richard, is I will think ahead. I will do my pre-flight, and during my pre-flight, I will grab my handheld radio and I'll listen to the ATIS. And while listening to the ATIS, I'll go, okay, it's information Juliet. The winds are 330 at 11. I'll go, yeah, I confirm that. They're landing runway 30. I'll go, okay, I'm here. 30's over there. I'm probably going to taxi Alpha Bravo. I'll anticipate that, but I'm willing to change if they change it up on me. So just like before I even say clear prop, I've already gathered some information and I'm thinking ahead as to what I might do. So that's valuable because you feel the pressure to go when the prop starts spinning because it gets expensive. Learning to fly is not expensive on the ground. It's expensive when that propeller starts spinning because a Hobbs minute or a Hobbs tick is a Hobbs tick. It does not care if you're flying or on the ground holding short. The Hobbs is the Hobbs, all right? So good stuff there. Philippe, thank you for the kind words.
Kirk on YouTube asked, what is the handheld radio?
Kirk on YouTube asked, what is the handheld radio I use? I use the Yaesu 750. Are we on the 850 now?
Yeah.
Maybe we're on the 850 now. I think I have the 850. Whatever the newest one is. It seems like the new one every year. That's what I use. I like it. We're not, by the way, we're not sponsored. We're not any of that stuff. Like I bought it with my own money. I like it because it has GPS, VOR, and trust me, you've seen 2-3 Mike Zulu. It's so overdone. I've got redundancy on redundancy on redundancy. And I still want to handheld with GPS just as a extra backup. Like if things hit the fan, I got backups on backups. So that's good. Seema said, is memorization beneficial for the knowledge test? Why do some people suggest it? I do not like using memorization. I would never speak poorly of a competitor, but there are competing products out there that teach you basically a gouge. When you see this, the answer is this. When you see blue, the answer is 23. Like, will you pass the written test by memorizing? Probably. Will that benefit you when the propeller stops spinning one day? Or on that cross-country diversion I just talked to you about, or on the check ride, right? You are hurtling a hunk of metal through the sky at 90 knots, and for some of you, even greater. You cannot fake your way through it by memorizing and gouging. This is not high school anymore, team. This is not even college. You have to, knowledge isn't power, knowledge is potential power. Who all knows somebody who can read all the newspaper headlines but can't tell you the facts? Who knows somebody who will tell you how to improve your marriage but their own marriage is a wreck? Or how to run your finances but their own finances are a wreck, right? These are just surface level people. You cannot be surface in aviation. There is no, I get a warning light and I pull over to the side of the road and call AAA. There is none of that. Like what we're doing is too serious to just go memorize stuff. You've got to truly know it. For the sake of the check ride and for the sake of the day an emergency strikes, memorizing A, B, or C is not going to help you when you've got to land in some farmer's field. I hate to put it so bluntly, but it's true. I'm very passionate about that topic. Let's find some others. Any advice on learning GPS? Get the trainers on the iPad. Avidyne, Garmin, it doesn't matter whom. They all have their simulators on the iPad. That's how I learned the Avidyne for 2D Mike Zulu. I just sat there and played with it on the iPad. Then you can go link it to like your actual, get in a simulator that has the same thing. It could be X-Plane, by the way, and fiddle with it. You've got to, again, aviation is only expensive when the propeller is spinning. It's not expensive for ground school. It's not expensive on the ground. Learn everything you can on the ground. Go apply it in the air. So that is a great thing here. All right, more questions, more comments. Then we're going to wrap up here. If I missed them, maybe copy and paste them again. Gary asked about ACS. Yes, ACS for CFI is a thing now. The MSRA team has been working feverishly this week. Just so you know, team, our CFI course is brand new. We knew the ACS was coming, and if you are currently taking M0A CFI online ground school, you are already using the ACS for CFI. There are really no big changes. We filmed it in that manner to be ready for that. So if you are currently in our ground school for the CFI course, any course really, you're dealing with the most up-to-date information from drones all the way up to CFI, FOI, etc. So you're good to go with that. But please make sure, and I don't care if you're using a competing product, that does not break my heart. I am not for everybody, and I'm not trying to be all things to all people. If you are using and maybe you have to use a competitor's product because that's what your 141 school mandates, that's fine. I hope they switch to MSRA one day. But please make sure if you're in CFI training, you are doing it to the ACS now, because the PTS is a thing of the past. We knew that was coming. Make sure you're doing it to the ACS. So if you're using a competitor's product, or even at a flight school, make sure they're up to snuff on all the ACS for CFI now. That's brand spanking new. This week this happened. All right. Let me see here. Pretty Fly Pilot Guy is the username. I mean, I'm just sad I did not get that username first. It's that good. Do you have any advice for someone working through their FOI lesson plans and kind of struggling? I also got 94% of the written. You know, FOI is not always everyone's favorite topic. I geeked out on it personally, but I realized it's not for everybody. And maybe Hunter, you can chime in here. Hunter used our FOI course. You have to think about the real world applicability of all of this. Defense mechanisms, teaching methods, learning styles. Like, I love the FAA, but boy is FOI. FOI, by the way, is fundamentals of instructing. There's a whole written test before you become a CFI on how to teach, basically, if you're wondering what on earth I'm even talking about. You need it for AGI, IGI, CFI, etc. Unless you're a teacher, but we won't get into all that. I gotta be real with you. I don't always agree with how the FAA teaches it. I think what happens there and what happens in the real world can be two different things sometimes. If you've gone through our FOI course, like Hunter and a few others here, I teach it how the FAA teaches it, but then I say, hey, this is how it happens in the real world, and break it down a little bit further, because the scenario-based real-world prep, like, you will never come to M0A just to pass a written test or just pass a check ride. Like, you will do that, but we teach so far beyond the test. Like, our private pilot course is 29 hours. It's probably overkill. No, it is overkill. But again, you're hurtling a hunk of metal through the sky at 90 knots. I want you to know everything. I want you to be prepared for every scenario. That's why we do it a little bit differently with that. By the way, Hunter got a 97, she said, on her FOI because of M0A. She's one of the first to actually go through the FOI course too, so thank you for that feedback, Hunter. Let's see. Larry Light said, can I explain a standard turn and a parallel entry? Well, remember, a parallel entry is really 3 turns. The first turn to square it up, the next turn to teardrop back around, and the third turn to straighten up on the inbound course. I pick a direct entry, then a teardrop entry, then lastly would I pick a parallel entry with that. So remember, a parallel is really 3 turns. That's why I pick it last of the 3 types of holding pattern entries, simply because it's 3 turns in IFR conditions that I want to minimize turning in IFR as much as possible. So hopefully that helps. Question for non-towered airports. T says, I've been told to say aircraft and tail number. I've also been told to say color. No, give your type and give your tail number. I don't get into color. What would I say? Skyhawk 23 Mike Zulu is a white Cessna. Have you ever seen a Cessna other than white? Like maybe, I mean, AOPA did those yellow birds for a little while, but like white Cessna with a blue tail? Like if you're that close to see my tail is blue, you're probably tailgating. Now, why do I give the tail number? Well, in the world of ADS-B, you can look down your iPad and see 23 Mike Zulu and confirm I am where I said I am. That's important to me. I said, do I have a video on the teardrop entry? Yes, I have a whole video called Holding Pattern Entries Made Easy on YouTube. It's also very extensively covered in the IFR online ground school for you to check out there. All right. Last call. Questions, comments, concerns. Let's see. I'm looking for a few others. Yeah, looking forward to seeing so many of it. Sun and Fun. Hangar D. Hangar Delta. Really, really looking forward to that as well. So we'll be out there all next week. Ground school members, remember, no webinar on Tuesday next week. Ground school members, I'll pre-record something for you as well. If you want to see inside the online ground school, head over to m0atrial.com to check that out. I will go back. I'll read all these comments here again. Thank you so much to everybody for just continuing to learn. Spend time on a beautiful Saturday to find new ways to better yourself as a pilot. Have a blessed, abundant, outstanding rest of your Saturday. I'll see you at Sun and Fun, and most importantly, remember that a good pilot is always learning. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you.